What's up? It's that time, people. Everybody's been asking. So, it's Red the Savage. Welcome to the second episode of... We've dubbed it the Gaming Kitchen. I believe that's the title now. But today, we're going to be learning how to make Guardian Breakfast Pizza. So the reason I've dubbed it Guardian Breakfast Pizza is because, I don't know, I just thought this is something that, you know, on Weekly Reset, like when everybody's kind of piling into the tower and they're just waking up, especially if you're like my buddy Cobra, who is in Australia and his resets in the middle of the night, it's breakfast time, right? So that means breakfast pizza, right? A lot of people haven't had this. I made this for my Titan and my Tiny Guardians recently, and they were totally confused about what it was until I made it, and then they were like, this is the most amazing thing in the world. Why do we not know that this exists? Also made it for a bunch of my clanmates whenever we had the reception, and they loved it so much that one of them actually went back to his house and had his wife make it whenever they got home because he wanted more breakfast pizza. So, very simple process. You can start with making your own crust, or you can just buy a store-bought crust. That's what I suggest you do, is just grab a store-bought crust. It's just so much easier. What I will say is, if you do that, try to grab one that has this groove, because it just makes it easier to hold stuff in and just kind of layer things into the pizza. For cooking, I suggest using a wire rack. You can literally throw it right in the oven on this rack also. You can throw it in like this, doesn't matter, however you want to do it, but I like to use the pizza racks just because it makes a really crunchy, crispy kind of crust. So for all intents and purposes, I have cooked the bacon ahead of time. I'm going to cook the eggs and show you how I do that. It's really simple. You really don't even need to watch me cook eggs, but I don't prefer scrambled eggs, so I do kind of a cracked egg type situation with mine. Sausage, shredded cheddar cheese, butter. I mean, you don't really need much. So, full ingredient list. Let's go. Crust. Bacon, you want to cook it so that it's crispy. Try not to eat it. I know that's really difficult because I just want to shovel all this in my face immediately. Shredded cheddar cheese, if that's what you prefer. You can also use mozzarella on this. You can do a blend, totally up to you. I'm a big mozzarella fan, but when it comes to breakfast foods, I really try to stay around the cheddar cheese. That's mild, to be specific. Sausage. So this is half a pound of sausage. That's also half a pound of bacon. So if you buy one roll of sausage, I prefer Bob Evans. You can do Jimmy Dean or whatever. Just make sure it's a breakfast sausage. If you get anything that's not a breakfast sausage, you're not going to get quite the same taste. It's still going to be awesome because it's sausage, but it's not going to be the same exact taste as what I'm doing here today. And eggs. So I use 4 eggs per pizza. Doesn't sound like a lot, just like it doesn't sound like a half a pound of bacon or half a pound of sausage is a lot. But you have to remember you're putting all this stuff together on the crust, so because you're doing that, you're actually piling on a lot more than you think. I remember the first time I did this recipe many, many moons ago, I was like, oh, I need so much, a whole pound of bacon, a whole pound of sausage. And what happened was, it was just a shit show because the pizza was like, and there was just too much on it, and it was impossible to try to cut and eat. Salt, pepper. You're going to need some milk, about a cup, a little more if you like stuff to be a little smoother. A quarter cup of flour. You can just measure it out ahead of time, put it in a little measuring cup, set it aside, and also butter. So if you use a stick of butter, you notice it has the markings on it, right? So typically I do 2 to 3 tablespoons, sometimes a little more, just depends on how I'm feeling. I prefer butter, so I'm always going to cake more butter in there than not. And I get in trouble for that every time that I cook, which is daily. Alright, so to start out, I'm going to turn this on. I'm going to turn it on low right? I don't want to burn a bunch of stuff or do anything crazy. So I recommend you do a non-stick cooking pan. I like this. This particular type of non-stick is really great. You just have to make sure that you don't use any metal utensils because it will scratch it and just totally damage it. So, turn that on. Now, remember how I said I don't use scrambled eggs? Just not a scrambled egg fan. Never have been. I typically eat egg whites for breakfast anyway. But we're going to take one of the tablespoons. I like to pre-slice them into little cubes because then it's like a cute little cube of butter. Just drop it in there. Let it kind of melt down a little bit. Don't have to do anything magical. It's pretty simple, to be honest. I'm going to take the eggs, and we're just literally going to crack them and throw them right in the pan. Simple. Anybody can do it. Not difficult, obviously. Everybody's probably like, why the hell is she cooking eggs? It's not necessary that anyone cook eggs right now. Right? Okay, so they're in the pan with the butter. Just gonna set the empty egg pieces aside, no big deal. And we're just gonna kind of let that chill and cook. Turn it up to just below like medium heat. If you have an electric stove, woohoo, figure it out. I can't stand electric stoves, but my house that I owned previously had an electric stove, and it made me a very sad person for a very long time. So, while these are in here, I'm just going to start just kind of breaking up the yolk. I'm just kind of mixing everything around. So, prime reason for doing it this way, rather than mixing it ahead of time, is I like the cracked egg kind of breakfast vibe with breakfast pizzas. I don't like scrambled eggs. I think scrambled eggs are very much like out of the box, and so for that reason I just prefer to do it this way. So I'll show you once they're cooked what exactly that's going to look like. So this is really great if you are a meat eater like me. But if you're not, if you're a vegetarian, I was a vegetarian for a year. I used to be a power lifter, and I was very curious about if being a vegetarian had an advantage for me at any point. So I decided to be vegetarian for a year just because I wanted to see what it was like. So I learned how to make my own seitan. I learned how to do a bunch of recipes and everything else. So what's nice about this is if you're not a meat eater, if you're a vegetarian, and you are just not big into animal products in general, then this is a really great recipe because you can very easily swap the regular bacon for faux bacon or, anything else like that, and you can incorporate other faux meats onto this. The eggs are almost done. You're going to want to have a plate set aside for the eggs. We're going to set them aside because we have to make the most important part of the breakfast pizza, which is the sausage gravy. Everybody thinks sausage gravy is really hard. It's really not. It's very simple to make sausage gravy. Don't let people overcomplicate it for you. You also don't need to go to the store and buy one of the country gravy mix-in packets that people use. It's just not needed. Alright, so these eggs are cooked pretty well. So if you look at them, you can see they're not scrambled. They are basically like cracked eggs. So there's egg whites, and then there's also yellow eggs in there, which is what I prefer for breakfast pizza. So I'm just going to move these over here onto a separate plate that I will attack later. Let them cool down so that they'll be easier to put on the pizza. So I'm just going to turn this down a little bit. Keep the pan warm. Everything is better whenever you keep the pan warm. I'm going to take another brick of butter. Just kind of lay it down in the bottom of the pan. And I'm going to take the half pound of sausage and I'm going to just start cooking it. So you throw it in the pan, you can just start chopping it up. The more it cooks, the easier it is to chop up and break up into little tiny pieces. The bacon, when you're cooking it, it takes a little bit longer. You also have to drain the grease out. It's really important to do that because you don't want to have a bunch of grease everywhere. You can use just about anything to do that. I use little containers, little plastic containers or cardboard containers like this because I utilize the bacon grease in my cooking anyway. Okay, so I'm just going to try and heat up a little bit on this. So I'm super excited to eat this and play Destiny today for reset. I'm waiting on 2 pieces of Pinnacle for my character, so I'm almost there. There's a monster in my kitchen. Is it me or is it the Jotun on my shirt? Because it could be the Jotun. Or maybe it's a cat. There could be a cat roaming around. You tell me, Draven, what is it? So again, we're just cooking the sausage. We want to get it to a point where it is pretty much done. There can be a little bit of pink left. It's not really that big of a deal because you're going to continue cooking it anyway. So once you get this broken up really, really well in really small pieces, unless you like to use a lot of sausage, you can totally do that. You can also omit bacon entirely from the breakfast pizza. I try to be both. Try to be as big as I can. It's all the breakfast pizza that I eat. So, once you get this broken up into little pieces, right? So pretty small pieces. We're just going to turn this heat down a little bit. Here's where you're going to take your 1/4 cup of flour. No, don't fall away from Destiny. It's important. So we're going to take the 1/4 cup of flour. We're just going to sprinkle it in. Make it look like Christmas in here. Right? And then we're going to add another cube of butter. What this does is obviously the fat from the butter and the flour obviously makes a French roux, if you will, which is really the base for the gravy blend. You're just going to mix the flour in and let it slowly cook into the sausage. You feel like it's not cooking in enough and you still kind of see some of the flour, or you're really worried about, you know, the consistency of it, don't panic too much. Not really a big deal. So once you mix in the flour and one of the cubes of butter, you're just going to be back to this kind of, just looks a little bit lighter, right? Looks like it's a little bit thick. Basically, it's because it has the flour and butter coating on it. So now we're going to add milk. So I typically do about a cup of milk and mix that in, and then it ends up being really thick. So then I add another, half a cup first, mix that in, and then I add in another half a cup a little bit later, and it makes it a really nice consistency. I'm making breakfast pizza, specifically Guardian breakfast pizza. because this is what all guardians want to eat in the tower all the time. So you're just going to mix the milk in, and you're going to notice really quickly that it's going to start to clump up, right? See this? It's really, really thick. Obviously, you're not going to spread that on a pizza. That's going to be horrible to try to put on a pizza. So you're going to want to add more milk. So I'm going to take my measuring cup, and I'm just going to add another half a cup. So that means I have added total 1 whole cup of milk. And I'm going to continue mixing it on low heat. How much to come cook for you? I'll come do a cooking show with you, and I'll teach you. How about that? Aw, thank you. So we're just mixing this here. Thank you for the host. Thank you for the host, right? Okay, so we're still cooking this, right? And we're just mixing it. So at this point, if you want to add more butter, go for it. I'm always going to add more butter. It's just how I roll. So add another little cube of butter, and then right now is a good time to add salt and pepper. So I have this cute little wooden spoon. And go like this. Just kind of spread it across there. Add some salt and pepper. I prefer fresh cracked, but honestly, any pepper will work, doesn't matter. Well, I can teach you. My whole goal here is to teach people how to cook stuff that's super simple, really fun, and that's gaming themed. Mostly Destiny, because I really like Destiny, but I have a lot of really great ideas for some other games that'll be super cool. So we're just going to keep mixing this, let the butter melt in, let everything kind of do its thing, right? Whoosh. And you're going to see the more you kind of mix it and blend it, the more it's going to look like sausage gravy. Now the difference with this, as opposed to a sausage gravy that you'll get in the store or at a restaurant, obviously this is way better because it's amazing. But it's also going to be thicker, right? Because we're going to put it on the base of a pizza. So whenever you feel like your sausage gravy is a good consistency, just go ahead and turn off your burner. Now, if you want to add bacon grease into it, absolutely go for it. Totally up to you. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Depends on how I'm feeling. So you're going to go to your pizza crust. And all you're going to do is literally tilt your pan. And because you're using a non-stick, this should literally slide right out of the pan. You shouldn't have any issues at all. Right? You just game to game. Well, now you're going to have to learn how to cook too. So you're just going to have to keep watching my stream. So we're just going to spread the sausage gravy around. Right? Super easy to do. I also like to make this because it's super easy. You can do it all in the same cooking pan. You don't have to worry about using a bunch of different pots or anything else or utensils or anything like that. Alright, so once you have that spread around, obviously this is what it looks like. So you can see it's not sliding, right? Which is what we want because we don't want it to be runny and go all over the place. How else are we going to eat it? If it's runny, it's just going to all over. So once we do that, the next thing we're going to do is the eggs. So the reason I do the eggs directly after is I prefer to put the eggs and the bacon on and then do the cheese. That way the cheese melts over top and kind of holds everything in place. It is really good. So you're just going to take the eggs. If you feel like it needs broken up more, you can break them up. I wear a glove because I like to squish the eggs more as I kind of put them together. So then I don't have to worry about washing my hands. So So once you get the eggs on there, you can kind of move them around so they're spread around evenly. And then I like to just kind of pat them down a little bit so that they smush down into the sausage gravy. And they're kind of set in their spot. So the next thing obviously is going to be the bacon, right? Everybody loves bacon. We're just going to kind of throw the bacon on there. Spread it around. I really just want to put it all in my face and eat it. Because again, who doesn't love bacon? So once you get the bacon on there, it's the way that you want it. And again, you can omit the bacon if you want. You can, use faux bacon. You can use faux sausage. If you want to do a healthier option, you can definitely do turkey sausage and turkey bacon. That works out good too. And then the last thing we're going to do is the shredded cheddar cheese, right? Just going to sprinkle the cheese on top. There's never too much cheese. Cheese makes the world go round. And as my dad would say, I'll eat cheese on anything, including cardboard. So once you're done with that, you have your pizza that's ready to go. Hopefully by this time you've turned on your oven, even though I didn't tell you to. So if you have a convection oven, you can set it at 400. Obviously, it cooks faster. If it's not convection, you can do 425. You may want to test your oven and kind of see what works best for you. I do convection oven at 400 degrees for 15 minutes. So open it up, put it in there, get it cooking. You can rotate it halfway through if you want to. Totally up to you. You don't necessarily have to. Alexa, set a timer for 15 minutes. 15-minute timer. Now, lucky for you guys, I've already made one so that you can see what it looks like. Et voila! When your pizza comes out of the oven, this is how beautiful it will be. Whoosh. Magnificent, right? So good looking. Look at it. How could you not want to just eat all of that? I just want like that. That's what I want to do. Also, that's why I like the lip around the crust, because I can pack everything in there. If you have a pizza wheel, absolutely you can cut it with a pizza wheel. If you don't have a pizza wheel, you can use a giant pizza cutter if you want to get fancy. You can also use a kitchen knife. Yep, that's a ghost on my Alexa. That is my streaming ghost. He likes to hang out during my streams and just make sure that I'm good and doing everything right. Alright, so we're just going to cut the pizza. Look at the inside of that. How awesome does that look? Just makes you want to eat it all, doesn't it? Oh, bacon. I mean, you could just serve half of this and just be like, here you go. Here's your pizza. Breakfast pizza goes really, really, really fast in my house. And because it goes super fast, I like to cut it into 8 pieces. Because it disappears almost immediately. As soon as people know it's in the oven, it's game over. Which is why I always make 2. And trust me, once you do this and you try this recipe, you're going to want to make 2 also, because it's just that good. And there's your breakfast pizza. Look how delicious. Nom 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 nom. It's so good. I can't even tell you how good it is. I was trying really hard not to be a fatty today. This sealed my fate. I'm gonna have to buy bigger pants. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the gaming kitchen and learning how to make breakfast pizza. It's about time for reset, so better get on making this because it's fire, for sure. So good. Have a great day, guys.